Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Work. Today, we're going to talk about the quiet work of a logistics company. I'm here with Ashley Jankowski. I have a pleasure to host you. Ashley, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us the company you work with, about the company you work with?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me today, Matt. First of all, like you said, I'm Ashley Jankowski. I am the CEO here at Bat Logistics, and I've been with the company for over 15 years. The company's been in business for just over 17 years. Joined the family when it was still in its infancy, I'd like to say. And we've been just grinding and growing it ever since. But prior to that, I was in the transportation industry and the restaurant world and allowed myself to find a home here for a long time.
Restaurant and transportation. I don't clearly see a correlation here. So, what was it more? Was it more transportation, or were you actually serving the restaurant industry some sort of way from the transportation perspective?
Yeah, so I wasn't serving the restaurant business or industry via transportation, but I began my career first in the restaurant world. And I think what really became a connection into transportation was the intensity and high speed of, say, the restaurant business and kind of food service really mirrored that of logistics or transportation. And so the skills that I had developed in the restaurant world really worked well and served me well when I moved over into transportation.
Thank you for so much for the explanation. I always like to grab something that's working really well or that teaches us about something in a different industry and bringing it over to your industry or to the new industry. I've started, as a lot of people, in the restaurant industry as well. When I moved to the United States, this was my second job, so I know a little bit about that. And I did not some, but I was part of transportation world in Europe mainly. So I can see now how the skills and the characteristics of the grinding time are applying to both industries. Because restaurant, to be honest, I didn't really like it. It was extremely intense and stressful, more stressful probably than any other job I had. People that know it, we all would love to go out, eat in restaurants, dine, have a great experience. But the behind the scenes, the quiet work behind restaurant, every restaurant,
Mhm.
especially fine high end restaurants, fine dining restaurants, it's a lot going on back then. Take us back 2010. You joined forces. You joined the Bat Logistics company. And how was it in the beginning? So you say the company was for around 2 years. So what was your initial role, and how was the beginning of your journey with the company?
I would when I first came to BAT, I started as a freight broker. So historically, BAT didn't hire anybody with experience. And I had experience. So even though I was coming in with some knowledge in the industry and what we could do, that didn't stand out any different to them. They didn't want to have to get rid of old habits or bad habits. And they really were just looking for my personality and the skills that I could bring. So when I started as a freight broker and I was building carrier relationships and customer relationships and then identifying anywhere that I could really make an impact on what was still really a startup at the time. And so within the first few months, I was able to move into a leadership role. And our company at the time was very small. There were 11 of us when I joined at year two. And it was a lot of great opportunity for me to be able to not only make my mark with the knowledge that I brought to the table, but then really help define where the company could go and how I could impact that and really become a part of the future of that. But I think a lot of people can attest to you have to grow up and you have to figure out who you are as an adult and in the working world before you can really become that person. And so for me, even though I had some experience, I was still only 25. So I joined this company at a very young age and I had to do some growing up. And you go through some ups and downs and you learn what you like and what you don't like and how to deal with people. And then you figure out, am I a part of a solution? Am I a part of a problem? Do I want to be here? What do I want my future to look like? And you really make some decisions as you grow up. And so it took a little bit, but we definitely were able to connect, and we've been very successful for a long time together.
Love it. Yes. I read that you are people first or people centric company, and I'll be curious to hear how that originated. From what you're telling me, yeah, you were initially, or the company is initially hiring based on personality, not based on your skills. So you can develop those skills as you join the company. And I can imagine there's some sort of coaching involved in that as well, guidance, mentorship, so you can be the best at what you do. So how did it all develop? You touched on so many different difficulties and challenges when it comes to running a company, hiring, the people culture, especially dealing with people every single day for 8 hours or longer in some cases. So how did this people first value, company culture develop?
I'm going to take it all the way back to our founders. So, our founders, originally Sean and Jared, when they began this company, they wanted to create not only a platform for everybody of all walks of life to be successful, but to bring a level of care into the transportation industry that they could tell was lacking. And so they really had that value of people first from the beginning. They were young entrepreneurs themselves, right? And they kind of fell into who can support me. And we're growing faster than we, as our two on day one, could handle. And they hired pretty quickly at the beginning. They didn't hire necessarily right. And I think that was a big downfall that really experienced in those first, and really probably those first 7 to 8 years of business, because there was such a rapid growth. They didn't focus on that people first or all of the pieces of the values. They needed the help. And so when I joined the company at year two, we had to go through a lot of struggles. I could see the initial core values that the company had for people first, and I was drawn to that because of who I am, but it wasn't always that way. We did have to work through some of those kinks as an organization and as a leadership team to really kind of get back to that. So some of that meant we had to make sure, did we have the right people? Did we have the right leadership? Were the right people in the right seat? And were they a right fit for what we really wanted to do as we moved forward? So it was about 4 or 5 years into my journey before I took on a greater role that allowed me to control or best impact the future of our people development. And so we were about year 6, 7 in when we really took the shift back to those initial core values that Sean and Jared had, and allowed us to start focusing on the people and the development of them alongside the business. And we were able to do a lot when we started with that.
Love that. Yeah, I can feel that startup energy. I mean, in the beginning, you have to create chaos as fast as possible if you want to grow aggressively. So it's quite normal. You have to adopt and it's comes with obviously its own challenges, but that's what I hear the most. It's always that initial chaos before it actually can develop into something more. I want to say peaceful. And that's not really super peaceful, but more organized. But you reminded me of an interesting story because we talk a lot about hiring people and growing through building company culture, and reminded me of a story that has to do with the restaurant business as well. Sure, you know Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and their companies. One of their favorite CEOs, I don't know the name, I forgot the name, but when he was hiring for executive role, important role in the company, instead of meeting at the office, he would take the candidates to a restaurant nearby and he would tell the waiter to create chaos at the table, mess up their order, do something to essentially lose control of the table. And they did that to find out how that candidate will react and respond in that situation that is ad hoc. They need to improvise. And how are they human still? Are they going to get extremely angry at the waiter because he did something wrong? Are they going to overreact? Are they going to still calm? Are they trying to solve it or take ownership of it? So all those interesting and very important skills that or character traits that every leader should have, or everyone at their executive role doesn't necessarily have to be a leader, but Yes, and that's what it did. So it's an interesting way to run interviews and hire people, especially for the executive role. So I think that's something that more companies should try out before the word goes around. And it's so common that everyone knows that that's the hiring process at the company. But that story stuck with me from all the books that they brought out before moving on and retiring or passing away at the age of 100 years. So good story right
Yeah,
there.
I love it.
Moving on, how you develop, you grew with the company. Your first executive role was your were the vice president at Bat Logistics, or what was the next step for you at the company?
So I moved in to the general manager role in about 4 years in. And 2 years after that is when I moved into the vice presidency. And that sounds so fancy.
Yeah,
But
I
moving
wrote it
into
down.
that moving into that role, I would definitely say was that first step into the executive space, and then on into CEO shortly thereafter, 2018, right? I don't know. Listen, it's been a long time.
So, how did you approach it when you first started leveling up and being coming essentially coming to work with more responsibilities than ever before as the vice president or as the chief executive officer? How did you feel initially, and how did you approach all the challenges in the new role?
That's a really good question. I think that it's important that I highlight I had to have those responsibilities before I was ever given a title to join those responsibilities. And that was definitely something that was really kind of ingrained in me at a very young age in my career is I didn't wait for that title or for, to be welcomed into that executive level before I was doing the roles and responsibility of it. And so for me, when I think about how did that feel and what did I do? I mean, that was a grind. And I had to look at the values of our organization and what we wanted to accomplish side by side. It wasn't how do we bring care into the industry and, be who we are and be entrepreneurs and take care of our customers at the same time while we want to scale. We want to grow revenue. We want to build our carrier base. We want to develop our business. I had to somehow intertwine those. And oftentimes what I find is that people are one or the other. If I care about people and I focus on my team, then sales suffer. Or if I focus on sales and I focus on growth, well, then maybe my people suffer. But it was very important that we found the balance between the two. And so for me, I was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I was spending a lot of time identifying how we could best identify our niche within the market, within the industry, and where we were going to best make our mark. And at the same time, supporting my team as they were doing their own day to day work. There were times as I was growing in my career that I would look at, say, a workload of an individual team or team member and know that there was whether not enough time or not enough resource, and I would physically take their work and I would own that responsibility so that they didn't have to suffer or lose time with their family and understand that I could maybe execute it a little bit quicker. Now, I made sure at many times not to disable them from their own personal growth by any means, but it was a lot of that support that meant I had to sacrifice. And I chose to forego something for myself in order to show my team that I was willing to take care of them. And so then they put in the energy that helped grow the other side of the business. And so overlapping that was very important and a lot of sacrifice, a lot of time, a lot of energy. And through the years, as I moved up into that executive role, the responsibilities remained the same for many years because I was already doing it. And then as you grow within the company, I think as problems change, as industries change, as economies change, that's when the responsibilities change. And in my role today, I have to stay so connected to what's going on in our industry, what's going on in our world, and then what's going on with my team. because that's the only way that I can manage all of the responsibilities that I have to balance as much of it as we can.
I can imagine it's extremely difficult to not lose that touch that you've developed in the initial stages of the company, of the growth of the company. And as you start scaling or scaling rapidly, there's phases. They say there's seasons to earn and seasons to learn. So there's both during both seasons. It must be extremely difficult to maintain that touch that you care about, and you want to make sure that both sides, your clients, new clients, and the team are in a good alignment so that the company can continue to thrive and grow. How are your clients and customers finding out about you, or how do you find your clients, essentially your expansion? How do you expand? But day and age where everything is driven by artificial intelligence, digitalized, and so much innovation happening on a daily basis pretty much right now. So how do you expand in that time during these times?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that most people like cringe at, and they're so surprised when they hear this. But for 17 years, we grew completely organically without a sales team.
Whoa.
And yes,
Hello?
so when we talk about how do our customers find us or how do we find our customers, it is all back to those core values that we have and the culture that we've built. And so for the first few years, as we were really rapidly growing that customer base and our carrier base, we've focused heavily on that relationship and connecting in our industry. We're not looking to be transactional and find, hey, let me just do this one thing and get this customer in and out the door. It was, how do I build a life with this customer? How do I build a life with this carrier? How do I build a life with each one of my team members? And we approach every single relationship that way. And because we do that, our customers stick around. And instead of losing business year over year, just naturally, we maintained and grew alongside our customers over the 17 years that we've been in business. Today, we have a sales team, but we focused very heavily on finding the right people that had that bat mentality that were going to go and find the right match. Not every shipper or manufacturer in the world is a right fit for bat, just like bat is not a right fit for them. Every carrier or truck driver in the world is not a right fit for bat. We ensure that we align the same values and the same approach to our business with the customers and carriers that we do business with, just like we hire our team. And because we make that alignment connection, it has allowed us to be really successful. So when you talk about seasons to earn and seasons to learn, we find that, right? We've been through many years where we were servicing only our current customer base because it was a season to earn and they needed our time and attention based off of the size that we were and what we could provide. And then the flip side, season to learn. We were able to spend more time and energy on customer development and carrier relationships and kind of that hunt of the next level and the next growth. And it's important to be able to recognize those different seasons to then align where you're spending your time with your customers and carriers or whomever that is in your business.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. Are there any innovations, speaking of innovations or AI, artificial intelligence tools, software that your or your team are using on a daily basis, or anything that caught your attention so far?
You know, what's really great is we have a very close connection to an amazing, amazing developer that has worked with Microsoft and Amazon and different organizations for years that has really helped us bring that innovation and that AI into the next level of our business. We do pride ourselves in having the best resources for our teams. And so, whether it's a new tool that's developed in a software space or a new addition or upgrade to our current systems, we're going to spend the time, we're going to spend the money, and we're going to make sure that if there's a task that we can automate, whether using AI or some built in programming, we're going to do it. If that can save my team time, then they can get out and build relationships, which AI will never do. It'll never be that, but it can answer a quick question or it can handle a quick problem if we've been there before and taught it that. And so we are always looking at what's that next level of innovation and what can we bring in, whether it's can we get an AI agent that can be in a customer portal and at a quick couple clicks bring a tracking update to my customer so they don't have to wait on the phone for my team to then go and hunt and peck and find it. Is it allowing our drivers to be able to connect and get information on a potential shipment that they're needing to look or log where their truck location is so that it can match up automatically using that intelligence within our system and the business that we have for them. So we're always looking at what is that next innovation and how can we bring not only ease of use, but also that speed of use to our customers and carriers.
That's what I admire the most about the game of business world or entrepreneurship. That the fact that you can bring on people, experts that have been loving what they've been doing for in their career, and they're so good, they can essentially deploy innovations into your business so quickly and better than anyone else. And you're able to bring people like this, experts like this, onto your company to develop things. And obviously, at the end of the day, simplify your clients, customers' life so they have a better experience. They will stay with you longer. And obviously, this is somewhat very fulfilling to see a system like this, a new system, especially if you bring on operating, working, and working well, getting good feedback. So that's something that I always feel really good about when you bring in something that works, and that's truly a beautiful, beautiful moment, a beautiful opportunity that you can do some things like that. What's the most fulfilling for you at your newest role, which is being a chief executive officer? That sounds even better than the vice president, even though you don't have the president in it, but still nice name.
The most fulfilling part of my job is taking care of my team. Honestly, I we would not be where we are today without the people that have supported us through the years. Whether people have moved on from that and went on different adventures for themselves or for their family or moved away from the area, anybody that has ever worked at BAT remains a BAT. And taking care of them and their families is absolutely the most fulfilling thing for me. Because when I can give back and I can take care of my team, I know that they're going to take that over to our customers and our carriers, and they're going to take care of them. And then in turn, take care of their customers. And it's this cycle. And when we do good, starting at our team, then it's a ripple effect and it continues through every other industry that transportation touches, which is every single industry.
Yes, absolutely. I said it earlier that the logistics space, the transportation space is industry is driving our economy, driving economy worldwide. You see it everywhere. Everything you touch, everything you have around you, around your house, around your office, it's had to be transported somehow. All the materials from the manufacturers, from the even
Mhm.
getting from the source and the material sourcing, it needs to be transported. So it's truly important for us all to make sure that your industry continues to thrive. Otherwise, we'll start reversing. So we don't want to do that. And
No.
that's not exactly, exactly. What's the most exciting for you in the near future? Maybe not towards the end of the year because we're entering the final stage. So maybe we can talk about that as well. But is there anything in the near future that you're excited about the most? Yeah, that's the question. Period. Question mark.
Yeah. So we have been in a season of learning for the past few years, and that excites the heck out of me because I know that as we come into the next season, whatever it looks like, whatever the economy does, whatever the markets do, I know that we are more prepared today than we've ever been. I know that we've got more tools and resources and expertise on the floor that can manage anything. So when I look at kind of what excites me the most, I think it's to really be able to see what we can do. We've put a lot of time and energy and money into learning and developing systems, people, skills, all of the things. We hired more team members to help us be more successful and to do better with less. And I'm really excited to see how that grows. And if we have anything to do with it, which we have everything to do with it, I know it'll be really successful.
And I can sense that energy for sure coming from you just through the camera. I can feel it almost like in a metaverse. And my last question for you, Ashley, if you had an opportunity somehow to sit across the table from Ashley from the very beginning, what advice would you share with her?
Sitting across from young Ashley, I would tell her she's going to lose a lot of sleep. So to be prepared for that, that's okay. Coffee will become her best friend. And yes, yes. I would also tell her that it takes a team and it takes a village, just like to raise a child. You have to have the right people on your team in order to reach the goals, and that it's okay to lean on people and to ask for help and to trust people and respect what other people bring to the table. And I think that would help young Ashley get there maybe a little quicker at times and ensure
Exactly.
that it's on the right path.
Set the right expectations, right? It's not always the only the good side of things, but obviously comes with a lot of fulfillment. But you have to be prepared for everything and anything. And we're in the process right now of raising a child, so it's new to us. I'm learning and discovering myself again, so it's very exciting. Just like starting a business and growing a business, very exciting as well. Different journey. So take your advice to heart, and definitely have a lot of caffeinated
And
on all kinds of
cheers.
except for business heroes. But thank you so much for your story. Thank you so much for hopping on the Quiet Work podcast here. I look forward to seeing what the future will bring.